Hi, everybody. Welcome to my live. Sorry I'm a few seconds late. Had a little bit of a technical snafu, but all is good now. How is everybody? What's everybody doing to help their weight loss journey? I worked out today. I did some cool sculpting. That was cold. My stomach was cold for about an hour and a half afterwards. But hey, if it helps, it helps. Hopefully it will. Uh, Anybody want me to talk about anything in particular? Just let me know in the comments. In the meantime, my head is spinning from all the GLP-1 news. As you probably have already heard if you've watched any of anybody's uh, videos, that the courts have decided that they're going to uphold the 19th as when some of the pharmacies, the 503Bs, have to stop selling the tirzepatide. So I don't know about you, but on Facebook, I'm seeing lots of ads for all these really cheap tirzepatide, and I'm sure the semaglutide will be following it very soon. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm seeing them for like $219. I've never heard of some of these companies, so I don't know if I would really consider doing business with them, but that's just me. I think companies like the three major ones, especially Join Mochi, aren't going to have any problem because they are adding things like vitamin Bs and other stuff to their medication and altering the dose so that it is for a specific need for the patient. And I don't know how long they're going to be able to do that, but at least the three major telehealth companies have the money and the lawyers to fight this. Join Mochi doesn't seem to be worried. They're business as usual. They're not panicking. I know some of us are, including myself. I just ordered another 3 month supply because you just never know what's going to happen. But the bud dates are for a year out, so I'm good with that. Now, some of your smaller fly by night and some of these little spas, you're going to see them stop selling it or go out of business totally. Some of your smaller telehealth, you're going to see them go bye bye because they just don't have the money or the lawyers to fight this. So, like I said, my head is spinning from all this stuff going on, and we kind of expected it, but I thought it would be just a little bit later. But that's how it is, and that's what's going to happen. So that's the way it is. Tirzepatide is still available. You can get it at Join Mochi. My code is on my description of my YouTube page. You get $40 off if you use it. Uh, the other big companies, Join um, Fridays, I think, is going to be fine. Quarterly will probably be fine. Those are the three biggest ones. Again, I'm getting emails left and right from Orderly to order more because I did use them twice. And I don't know if it's related to the fact that this injunction and the March 19th date, but they're kind of seem like they're pushing to get more customers. Now, the 503A will be able to continue selling at the custom, and I believe most of them are going to buy the stock so that they could sell the other ones. And I don't know what the bud dates are on those, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But again, I don't know about you, but my head is just spinning from all this stuff. It's amazing how much stuff is happening in a week. And as we all know, that the semaglutide is taken off of the shortage list. And again, the OFA filed an injunction, same judge, kind of expecting the same results, a little different date on those. But we shall see what happens with that. It would be kind of strange if the same judge had a different outcome than they did with the tirzepatide, but stranger things have happened. so we'll have to wait and see. Also, that they have uh, Novo Nordisk has lowered the price for cash paying people on their. I think they're calling it something like Novo Nordisk Direct, where it is $4.99 for the and it's the actual pens, not actually in the vials. And there are no stipulations like with Eli Lilly. They've dropped the higher doses. Uh, they haven't got all the higher doses, but the higher doses that are available to $4.99. But if you do not reorder within 45 days, the price goes up. And that's because they don't want you dose splitting, or they don't want you, if you're on fives, ordering tens to save money. Uh, so that's why they do that. Now, I'm personally am do a little bit of buying a higher dose and using it a little more often. Like I get 6 doses out of my vial. The only problem with that is the little rubber thing. I believe it's rubber that you put the needle into isn't made for a lot of punctures. So if you're going to do that, try to make sure that it's only for a couple of extra and not that you're going to buy a 15 and only use 2 or 1.5 um, as your dose and use it like 7 to 15 times because it's not made for that. And every time you do that, you are taking the risk of putting bacteria in there. So if you are doing something like that, like even I, who am getting an extra dose or two out of each bottle, make sure you look at the medication when it's in the syringe. Make sure it's not cloudy. I know there's no way of testing it. Make sure you do everything very clean. I know that if I try to wait till my cat's not around, I clean off the counter, I wash my hands, I alcohol the vial, I alcohol my skin, and all this is for, like 15, 20 seconds that I use the alcohol. Um, I have access to gloves. Sometimes I use the gloves if I think that, my hands, like if my cat is around and or there's cat hair around, trying to make sure that there really is no place in the house that the cat hasn't been. But like I said, I try to rinse off the counter and stuff, make sure that there's no cat hair, make sure that she's not in the room. And that's the only way that you can play it safe like that. And as far as bud dates, I actually have a video that I'm going to be putting up probably within a week or so. I've already made it. I'm just in some of the final edits of using medication past its bud date. Uh, will it go bad? No, it's a pretty stable medication. Worst case scenario, it may only be like 99, 98, or even 97% effective. I'll take that. And I'm not going to say in my lifetime with any medication that I haven't used out of date medications. I'm not that upset if it's only like 98% effective. I've even used other medications that are a year or two out of date. And like I said, if they're 85, 90% effective, I'm kind of okay with that. Uh, I know at work, not for patients, because I do work in an imaging center, but the big bottle Tylenol that we have for us workers is out of date by a couple months. And again, it's not going to hurt us. It just may not be quite as effective. So just keep that in mind. Now, keep in mind with all these companies selling uh, the stuff for cheap, you do not want to get a 3-month dose in one vial because, like I said, it's the tip that you put the needle in isn't made for all those types of um, injection, punctures. So you want it, in monthly vials. That should be, one of the things you find out before you buy it. Again, do a little homework because some of these companies that are flashing up, especially like on my Facebook or on Insta or any of that, I've never heard of before. So do your due diligence. I think it is worth a couple minutes of doing some homework. find out, Google them, see if there's complaints and so forth. But, getting sick over this stuff is not worth it. It could lead to some very serious consequences. You don't want something that's made in somebody's garage. You don't want to be injecting it into, worst case scenario with some of these things, it won't be effective at all. I'm sorry, that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, who knows what you could be injecting into. So again, be aware, and that is my big warning of this. Um, Big companies, it's not time to panic. And I could pretty well guarantee you, if for some reason they are going to lose the fight, that they're going to make like a year's worth available for you to buy and, open up a line of credit or something so that people could do that because they're just making so much money. I mean, within I think it's like 5-6 years, this is going to be almost a $200 billion industry. The weight loss medications. Um, there's no further updates on when the retatrutide's coming out. Again, the more data is going to be, and probably more of the final data is going to be out by the end of the year. And then I'm sure at that time, if it's good, which everything points out to it being good, almost rivaling bariatric surgery, that they will be applying for FDA approval. And once that happens again, don't know anything about the price, availability. Like I said, the more stuff that they have on the market, the better. Because as you could see with them trying to take out the compound companies, they're having to lower the prices. Not quite where I would like to see them, but you know, they're lowering the prices, and that's you know, I would like to see them at about 250 for the name brand, and if they keep on compounding, maybe 150. That's my goal to as to where to see them. I have no influence on them, nothing like that. But uh, that is sorry. I just wanted to make sure that that chat was working because I had like a little line through that. I'm like, oh, can't have that. So anyhow, again, I'd like to see the prices with that. And like I said, as they're introducing new drugs, and they're probably going to have these new medications at this $1,000 rate. They can't also have the medication that's available now, the Zepbound and stuff. They can't have it at the same price because everybody wants the newest and greatest. That's just the way life is. Uh, Hi, Carol. Thank you for joining me. Um, but, more medications, better pricing. The oral medication hopefully will be out by the middle of next year. It's supposed to be a daily thing. Now, I don't know what the price is going to be on that. I don't think anybody knows. But the one good thing about that is that you don't have to have eating restrictions like you do on some of the oral medications that are out now, and no refrigeration. Because this refrigeration thing is huge as far as pricing because it's got to be kept at the company in refrigeration. It's got to be transported with refrigeration. It's got to be kept in the pharmacy with refrigeration. Even like the compound companies, or if they're sending name brand or compound, have to ship it to you with refrigeration, and all that adds up. And they're not going to pay for it. The consumer is going to pay for it. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's always been. Just have to deal with that. So we got that part of it out of the way. Is anybody having any side effects or anything? Uh, I know that I haven't. I've been very lucky through this whole thing. I've been drinking a lot of water and I'm put electrolytes in it. I'm in love with the element. Everybody knows that. Uh, got my wife hooked on it. I like the lime flavor, and I also like the grapefruit. I've tried the sparkling one, which they now sell at Vitamin Shop. Excuse me, I don't know, if everybody has a Vitamin Shop by them. I'm not that into sparkling stuff because it just makes me burp for too long. And when you buy a can individually from them, it's close to $3, which is a little bit pricey, and I'm sure you can get it cheaper through Element, but maybe I will try a can of it, can for my wife, but she likes that sparkly stuff. I'm afraid she's going to get addicted to that, and that might be a little pricey. But hey, my wife, she's worth it. Uh, so that's it with side effects. I have a video. I think I came out today on side effects and what to do with the side effects and some little helps with the side effects. Obviously, you day of your shot, you don't want to eat a greasy meal. You don't want to eat too many bad foods because that's when your side effects will be at its highest. So, uh, Carol likes the raspberry salt flavor. I think we've tried a couple of other brands, and she also liked the raspberry. I know we've tried salt, and I've Oli or something like that. She likes that one. Same price, but or maybe a little bit cheaper. But I always say stick with the original, if that's the gold standard. And, unless the others are so much better or so much cheaper, then hi Sharik, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. We're talking about element electrolyte and side effects. It's helped me tremendously because anytime that I think that I might feel a little bit nauseated, take a sip of that and I'm fine. And some of the time that I feel a little bit nauseated isn't so much, in my opinion, isn't so much from the medication, but like I'm not a very big breakfast eater, and like I try to stop eating at like 7:30 at night, and then I usually don't have my protein drink till about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe sometimes even a little bit later. And yeah, I might be a little bit nauseated from empty stomach. You never know. But that's my tip with that. And again, especially shot day, you know, try not to eat too much greasy food. Try to get your protein in. I know, like yesterday was our shot day. We weren't very hungry, but I made sure that I had my protein shake. I threw some protein yogurt in there. I threw some collagen, which also had some protein, and I also threw some spinach in there because I wanted to make sure I had enough vegetables because nutrition, nutrient dense foods is very important. Usually my shot day, I don't quite meet my protein, but it's about 20 grams of protein in my protein drink. Add another 15 to from my yogurt. Add, I think it's another 9 or 10 from the collagen, and at least that's half my protein. Didn't have a very big lunch because it was shot day. I don't want to force myself to eat if I'm not hungry. And I did make sure that I had, a couple bites or something just because I did need the nutrients. I was at work, and you know, you do have to watch your nutrition, especially on that day. But then we had a nice steak for dinner, and that steak had about 40 grams of protein. So all in all, I probably did make my 80 protein. I am shooting for 100, but 80 on shot day for me is excellent. Thought about some protein water, but I forgot to bring it to work, and by that time, just the electrolyte water, and it's pretty full. Make sure you stay hydrated. That also helps with your side effects. Hydration is so important with things. It helps flush out the fat. It just helps keeps things moving. It helps with stopping um, constipation. I know we're talking poop on the internet again, but that's the way it is with these medications. So anyhow, water, water, water makes you feel fuller. A lot of people say drink a glass of water right before a meal and you won't eat as much. I try to drink water as I am eating. Some people just don't literally drink. That's something that's totally up to you. Just make sure you get your water in there, whether you have to add a little flavoring to it, little electrolytes. That's, all fine. Just don't overdo it on the electrolytes because too much electrolytes can be bad. It'll also help because if you do get diarrhea, you need to keep yourself hydrated, and the electrolytes you lose during that will help if you drink an electrolyte water. It also helps flush out your kidneys because we know that, especially with the medication and dehydration, you could get kidney stones or even a little bit of kidney, not failure, but a little decrease in kidney function. So hydration helps with that. So hydrate, hydrate. Some people say hydrate or dihydrate. Prefer to just say hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. It's so important. Um, so other videos coming out. I had one came out a couple days ago on how this is affecting uh, gym gyms because people are going more for, at least people on GLP-1 are going more for weight training rather than um, cardio. I think it's kind of important to still do a little bit of cardio. I do both, but that's just me. And I don't claim to be a trainer. I don't claim to be an expert, but it is recommended by a lot of people, doctors, trainers, and so forth, on the GLP-1 medication, as with any rapid weight loss, that you do weight training so that you don't get muscle loss. And I feel that it's helped getting some muscles here. Can hurt. So I spend a little time in cardio. I happen to do my cardio at Hotworks, which is doing it in a sauna. And maybe it's overachieving on my part, but I like it. It feels good. I like to sweat. I don't sweat a really lot at the gym. So it's good to get those toxins out. Anytime you can get toxins out, it's good. So also, it's affecting the gyms. Like, are they going to have a little bit less cardio and more into the weight training? Are they going to have special classes? If so many people are taking these medications, they're going to have to adapt a little bit to keep up and keep the business. So, watch the video. It's got some good information on that. Also tells how personal trainers are going to have to alter, what they were thinking, as far as slowing down some of the cardio, increasing some of the weightlifting, because of the medications, and that's what's recommended. So they want to keep their customers that are on GLP-1s, they're going to have to adapt. Uh, had one on fast foods. I have another one coming out on how they're going to have to adapt because people just aren't going for the Big Mac. They don't feel like it anymore, if they're on the medication. And, that's partially a good thing because I think, especially Americans, eat too much fast food. We eat too much ultra processed food, eat way too much sugar. And, we do need to cut down on that. So, like, I know it's convenient and I know it's fast. That's one of the reasons why on a channel I have these dinners in 10 to 15 minutes because if I decided, hey, let's go for fast food, by the time I get into the car, get over to the place, order it, pick it up, bring it back home, I could have made a much healthier dinner, you know, in 10 minutes, probably less time than it takes to drive to the place. Like I said, order it, wait for it, get it, take it home, and then have it greasy, not healthy food. And you think McDonald's gets, grass-fed beef, high quality like I buy? And there's also the cost of it, which I am having some of them a little bit less expensive because I know not everybody wants to spend $30, $40 on a dinner for two. So, I'm working on some that are around $8 to $12 for, and again, this is for two people. So, if you're only one, cut it in half. You can make it for two and have it the next day. It's totally up to you guys. So I don't have them separated as far as um, the less expensive ones, but way at the beginning of the videos, I'm letting you know this is one of the lesser expensive meals. As a matter of fact, uh, what we're making tonight, which will probably be out in a few days, is one of the lesser expensive. I think I paid like $6 or $7 for 2 pieces of cod. I have it marinating right now, and I'm just going to bake it. So, that and a vegetable under $10, 10 to 12 minutes. You have to add the 2, 3 minutes it took me to make up the marinade and put it in the bag and put it in the refrigerator, which I also videoed, which will, be the first part, and the second part will be cooking it. So all in all, yes, it will take longer, but I had 5 minutes this morning to do that, and it's sitting in the refrigerator now marinating so that when it comes time to making the dinner, it's only about 10, 12 minutes. So, like I said, much faster than fast food. Going to restaurants already are somewhat not really catering, but they are listing their calories. I wish they would list their fat content because you go to some of these, restaurants, Chili's, Applebee's, or anything, and you think I'm ordering a salad, it's healthy. Well, guess what? It's as many, if not more, calories than that burger that you wanted, and the fat content is high if you really look it up online. But most restaurants at least have something like a grilled chicken or grilled salmon, grilled piece of fish, or just shrimp and a vegetable. And they will let you substitute vegetable uh, or potato. Most of them come with a vegetable. I know that we have been out to dinner in the past and had the grilled chicken and vegetable, and they're like, "Oh, you want the potato?" And sometimes they'll give you a second vegetable, but it's plenty. You don't, especially on the medication, because your appetite is nowhere near as it was before. So it's plenty of food. And that's another thing. They may have to cut down their portions because it is a lot of food. And some restaurants are thinking of doing it, and they're actually thinking of putting a surcharge for a smaller portion. For some things, I think that's okay. For other things, I think that's a little kind of crazy, but at least if they're gonna give you that surcharge, they ought to give you 2 vegetables or, make it somehow worth your while. You know, why would you want to just pay more for a smaller piece? Uh, the exact same thing. But Americans also have to change the way they think. Sometimes just not having that temptation, if it's a small charge, might be, worth it. We'll have to see. Great chores for cooking. Thank you, Carol. Considering she's the second person, of course, she likes my food. She's not going to say that she doesn't. But anyhow, so again, want to stay away from some of the ultra processed food. Excuse me. One thing that I can't seem to stay away from is protein shakes because I'm not a breakfast person, never really been a breakfast person. Taking GLP-1 medication isn't making me a breakfast person, so I have a protein shake. But at least for a processed food, it does have a lot of nutrients in it. So, that's one thing that I have to sacrifice. At first, I never even knew that protein shakes were considered processed food, but silly me. Of course it is. Uh, I try not to eat too much processed food. We just did a video. My wife Carol joined me in it. Some of these, we're having here, these types of salty snacks, which, yes, they are ultra processed food, but if you absolutely have to have one, and I know sometimes you have a craving for something crunchy and salty, that at least make it a smarter choice. At least let it have some protein. So, like, for example, these Quest protein chips bag is a serving, and I like when a bag is a serving because then you don't have to guess. Some of them are 3.5 servings per bag, and then you gotta count them out and make sure you're not eating too much. But that's just a convenience thing. It's not the worst thing in the world. This is 140 calories, 5 grams of fat, which and 5 carbs, and one of fiber, so that would be a net of 4 carbs and 19 grams of protein. So at least if you're going to have something like that on those days that you do have to have something crunchy or are craving that, at least make it a smarter choice. These come in many flavors. This one here is ranch flavor. Uh, some other ones there, grab them. These are kind of my favorite. These are pure protein cheesy crackers, and they taste just like one of the Cheez-Its or something. One bag, one serving, 130 calories, 6 of fat, 3 are saturated, uh, 9 carbs, 0 fiber, 1 sugar, 10 of protein. It's not quite as healthy, but like I said, these are my favorite. If I have these normally, I would say maybe twice a month. We seem to be having them a little bit more now because we just did that video and we had to buy some of them in a little bit larger quantity. So we have them hanging around. So we are eating them a little bit more. And I do have a confession to make. We went out to dinner and we were not as good as we should have. We were both craving liver. So maybe we needed the iron. Liver, other than being a little bit fatty, is a pretty healthy food. Excuse me, but we were a little bad with the sides, and we did have a little bit of dessert. And once in a while, you have to treat yourself to this thing because this is now our lifestyle. We're going to be on this forever, this type of eating at least forever. I'll probably be on the medication forever. So will Carol because she's type 2 diabetic. And once in a while, you have to go out. And once in a while, when you go out, you're going to be a little bit bad. Hey, don't be too hard on yourself. Just, the next day, it's a new day. Start again. Don't beat yourself up. Uh, I think I gained like a pound. I think Carol said she gained 2 pounds, but within 2 days, we had it back off again. So, no big deal. And again, to do this once in a while, not bad. If we go out to dinner more often, there are smarter choices. I do have videos on my channel on how to make those smarter choices and what is smarter. Like I said, it's very hard to find a restaurant that doesn't at least have grilled salmon. Plenty of seafood places, especially here in South Florida. Um, Grilled baked fish. You don't want it deep fried. And remember, if you're going to make it, air fryer, way to go. It tastes almost like deep fried and half the fat. So we use ours all the time. I rarely use my oven. I actually have 2 air fryers, and that's kind of, because it's just the 2 of us. If I'm going to make something anything bigger, then I'll use the oven. But if I use the oven once a year, that's a lot. Plus, it's a lot less for electric and things like that. So what the heck? Uh, Now, as far as restaurants, plenty of grilled chicken. Like I said, they usually have calorie count on there, not the fat. If you want to be really good, you can look up the nutrition on your phone. You could ask them to make some of the stuff without butter. You kind of have to trust them because I know not all chefs are honest about that. I know years and years ago when I used to work hotel restaurant, and people would order grilled chicken and say no butter on it. Our chef put the butter on it, and chef, they said no butter. But I want them to say my grilled chicken without butter tastes better than anybody else's grilled chicken without butter. So, and you have to put a little bit of trust in there. And remember, going out, salads aren't always the best choice. See what's in the salad, and those dressings could be killer. Bring your own. Ask for a light vinaigrette. Even though it's not that type of salad. You know, when Carol and I were on different types of diets, we used to bring the Skinny Girl or Walden Farm 0 calories in a little Tupperware container type thing, or mock, whatever you want to call it. We just bought our own salad dressing and we made it healthy. It worked. It was good. And still were able to go out to dinner because remember, you have to be social, because if you stop being social, you don't want to get, lonely or depressed or anything like that. So definitely continue having a social life. Just be a little smarter about it. Like I was telling people when we were doing these videos, you're going to the movies. Popcorn in itself is not a bad choice. You don't get anything on it; it's just air popped. But I bring something like this with me. I've done it in the past, or I buy the Quest and the others make things like M&Ms or little like peanut butter type of M&M type things, but with protein and less sugar. So, bring that instead of getting something at the candy counter there. It's a lot better. And again, you still want to do things, you still want to be with friends because you don't want to start having loneliness or psychological issues or be a person that's just going to be a hermit because they're afraid to go out because of what they're going to eat. That can lead to different types of psychological problems. While we're on the subject of psychological problems, Joy Mochi now has this new wellness program that, if give them your insurance information, excuse me, because it's totally different than using it for the medication. If you qualify, they're going to be offering psychological help 30, I think it's 20 or 30-minute sessions with a psychologist about this type of loneliness with eating and, relating to eating and dieting and, seeing yourself. Like I have a little bit of a hard time still not seeing me. I don't see myself as fat anymore, but, when I look at myself, because I've got some loose skin and stuff, it's like, can't exactly call me skinny because, I see that. I know other people don't. And I'm working on that both psychologically and at the Cool Sculpting because they have skin tightening. Hopefully that's going to help because I don't want to go for the, surgery because I don't really care if there's a little bit of skin hanging and, it's not created a problem yet. So I don't want the recovery time and, surgery comes with the risk. And, I don't want an abdominoplasty, which is what the insurance covers, because it's 6 to 8 weeks of recovery time. I don't want that, So that covers that subject. So any other snacks here that we're dealing with? I know that we had one that was made with chicken. It was just kind of like a chip that was made of chicken. Chicken. Chicken was the number one ingredient. It was crunchy, almost too crunchy, and it kind of had a weird chicken taste to it. It was not my favorite. And they also have these little chickpea ones. They were okay. Again, not my favorite. Uh, Calorie wise, they weren't too bad. A bag is a serving, 110 calories per bag, only 3.5 of fat. A lot of carbs, though, 14 carbs and 2 fiber, which actually is only 5%. But I'm one of these people that freak out over carbs because I like my carbs either from fruit or vegetables, um, sweet potato. I'll even do a baked potato once in a while, but Carol and I we split on, so it's not as bad. Try not to put like too much butter or anything on it, because that's what actually makes it bad. We tried purple potatoes once, and they're kind of like a sweet potato, but might as well have a sweet potato, and sweet potatoes are cheaper and easier to find. I happen to find purple potatoes at Sprouts. I don't know if Sprouts is nationwide, but are here in Florida, and they do have a lot of grass-fed beef and chicken, which is better for you. Um, Antibiotic-free, uh, cage-free, and all that good stuff. Again, I'm not sure what the standards are and how much they're regulated. You have to have a little bit of trust, but um, sometimes I have a hard time with those trust issues on these stores because I know some stuff that isn't regulated, they just slap that label on to make the money. But Sprouts is a pretty big company, and that kind of tend to believe it. Uh, have a lot of organic stuff. Now, I'm not huge on organic vegetables only because I have a huge farmer's market where I buy a lot of my vegetables, I buy my fish, buy some of my meats, and I buy my fruits from them. Um, but the only difference really being is I don't know if they use insecticides or fertilizers, but the fact that this farmer's market is so big, I'm hoping that that's better. But again, I have to draw the line somewhere. I do try to buy some stuff organic if I can, but I'm not going to go crazy over it because you just can't go crazy over everything, or you'll drive yourself crazy. Meaning of the word crazy. So anyhow, let's now talk about where you do your injections. A lot of places, the old school thing was, switch off. Some people say, back of the arm, thighs, stomach. Some people say this is better for appetite suppression. Uh, don't know if all that's true, but um, there's now been some studies that the stomach is actually the best place uh, to inject for the medication to get totally absorbed. Again, they're still working on these studies. I tend to use my stomach. And again, I kind of use it like a clock. I'll do it at one injection at 12 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, and then and I'll mark it on a little piece of paper. Actually, I have a note thing on my phone that I mark where my last one is. You don't want to inject it in the same place over and over because if the skin gets too tough, it's harder for the medication to get absorbed, and then it's not as potent. So be wary of that. I know my wife uses her legs. I would find it really hard for one person to do their arm. It almost, because they want you to pinch it, and you're like, okay, so what do you inject? What do you use your foot to do the injection? I mean, come on. It's a little bit harder. Yes, you can do it. It's hard. So I've used my leg once, and it hurt like hell. I don't want to do it again. Plus, I was really hungry that time, so I'm like, I'll stick with my stomach. That seems to be work. Why mess with something that works? But I'll be me, you be you. And did a video, put it out yet on the injection site. Doesn't matter. I believe it put it out a couple weeks ago. If not, it'll be coming out soon. I'm trying to get a little bit of ahead of the game, but a little easier with all these breaking news things. What I had planned coming out, I had to push off a date because everything's happening so fast with this compounding in the GLP-1 world. The farmers market is local and fresh. That's true. Um, they do have very, very fresh stuff. And um, I know that Carol and I are both hooked on their dino melon, which is like a honeydew. Uh, it comes from Brazil now because in the United States it's not seasoned, but it's seasoned there. It is delicious. It's super sweet. It's like some of the best type of a honeydew that I've had. And I asked them the other day, it's called a dino melon because although it's a little bit smaller than the honeydew melon, and it has like little stripes. And I guess if you look back in history book, it almost resembles a dinosaur egg. So they call it dino melon. Go figure. First I thought, oh, it's a dino melon? I guess I watched too many Flintstones when I was growing up, but I used to like Dino the dinosaur. But hey, that's a whole different video topic. So we really like the dino melon fruit. The watermelon there again, like I said, if it's not in season here, they get it from all over. So they always have pretty sweet melons. Um, and usually you go in there and say, hey, as they're cutting it up, hey, can I have a little taste of that to make sure it's sweet? If they know you're going to buy it and you're a regular not just there for free samples. We'll give it to you, and they want to sell it. And they're pretty proud of the fact that their melons are pretty sweet. Somehow they're getting pretty sweet cantaloupe too. I don't know where they're getting it from, but and it's for us. It's great to have this huge farmers market and the spring coming up. We did spring forward today. The spring coming up, the farmers markets are going to be opening up all over the place. So everybody's going to be able to get things like that. Excuse me. I know some of the fish places that I use are at a lot of these farmers markets that are popping up like on Saturdays and Sundays, usually on Saturdays. They have a booth there for people to get fresh fish. So, it's going to be more and more available. So we're lucky in South Florida because we just have so much fresh fish. Uh, I know when I lived in Chicago, again, this was 30 some years ago, we didn't have a lot of fresh fish. We had a lot of, the fish in the fish department was previously frozen and stuff like that. But, I don't know how it is now. Like I said, I haven't really been there in 30 years, but, and again, there's always things like shrimp, which is still pretty healthy. Scallops are always around. And, some frozen fish isn't bad. If it's frozen like immediately, they put it in like a food saver type thing and freeze it. It's perfectly fine when you defrost it. It's almost as good as fresh fish. And then there's places like, Wild Fork that have a lot of things like that. There's places all over that do that. So the fish is available. And like I said, I'm happy that I can get it fresh, but we've had plenty of frozen fish. And some of these fish places, when they have a lot of fish that I like, they'll go ahead and wrap some of it in the food saver type of thing so that we could freeze it. Because there's nothing wrong with taking it out in a few weeks and letting it defrost and having it 98% as good as when it was fresh. So you got to take that. I kind of like when it's fresh because then that takes the thought of, what am I going to take out of the freezer? I have to do that the day or two before. I don't like to think that far ahead sometimes. So, I go to these local fish places and I'm like, oh, I'll have that for dinner tonight. Up and that for tomorrow. Oh, maybe I'll get that in one of those, air air saver type things and put it in the freezer. Or sometimes I'll just go a couple times a week if I have the time. And that's pretty much what we do. Another thing that I'm going to make for dinner, I don't know if Fresh Market is around all over, but I know that they're in a lot of states, at least in the United States. And I'm sure that other countries have something very similar. In their fish department, they have mahi that's coconut crusted. It's not cooked, but it's when you cook it in the air fryer, it's got that coating that's kind of like the coconut shrimp, but it's mahi, and it was $4.99 a piece. So you can't beat that. Almost thought about doing a cooking video of it, but what you take it, it's already prepared, put it in the air fryer for 8 minutes, voila. I mean, it wouldn't be much of a video, so that's why I haven't done that. But I am mentioning it in this live so that people know. Look around in some of these specialty shops. You know, there's more than just Sprouts. I know that all these have some stuff like that. Whole Foods. There's a lot of places that have things like this, not just um, Fresh Market. So, shop around, hey, you'll get some steps in at least. I like to look at new stores and, see what kind of new foods and healthy foods I could get. I like going around Whole Foods. I don't buy a lot there because they tend to be very expensive. But, sometimes I see something that really catches my eye and I'm like, this is worth a try. And it sounds pretty healthy. You know, Again, you can't just keep eating the same thing, which is kind of a funny story. When I was doing, I'm like, I'm gonna do this series, or I'm gonna do a couple of dinners, because show people how to do this in 10 minutes. and, eat healthy while you're doing it and, make it healthy. And I figured, like 6 or 7 recipes that I go to, I I'm up to like 30 already. Granted, I don't have all of them all of the time, but, I just still do have my top 5 or 6. One of them obviously being, anyway, snapper. I love snapper and swordfish and salmon. Those are my 3 favorites. Uh, have those quite often, and I'm mixing the other ones in there. And I'm learning how to do new things with this series. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. And like I said, if anybody has any suggestions, I'm thinking of doing one on a chicken stir fry. Uh, all in all, will take a little bit more than 10 minutes, but you could get, I buy the chicken strips already cut up. You cook them up for like 5, 6 minutes, and then you do the vegetables, mix it together. All in all, it will take more than 10 minutes, but it's not too expensive. Super healthy because there's just so many vegetables. I do use a light teriyaki, or I make my own type of sauce with some light soy sauce, a little bit of honey, and a little bit of curry, just to just, just to make the taste different. And in my vegetables so that I don't have to use a lot of soy for it to, or this whole sauce for it to cook. I'll do a little chicken stock, bone broth type thing, to steam it just a little bit so that it's not, cooking in too much sauce because I like to keep it a little bit light on the sauce. And as far as the rice, I like to use cauliflower rice. There's just so many ways that you could do this, so many ways that I didn't think, I could be showing you, and I am. So I'm hoping that it's helping you. It's helping me come up with new things to eat, new ways to make things. So hopefully it's helping you. I'm having fun doing it. I hope you're having fun watching it. I know that Carol and I are having fun eating it. So uh, and even my cat is having some fun looking at it, like, fish, cat, But nah, she doesn't eat too much people food. So not really. I get really upset if she eats too much people food. I don't want to have to start cooking for the queen of the house, but she has her own. You get her fresh pet, which is fresh food in the refrigerator section for her. So don't worry about her. She's eating just fine. So that's what's happening with my cooking series. The only thing with stir fry, like I said, it's because you have to buy, a head of broccoli. Like to put the some mushrooms in there, so you have to, buy quite a few mushrooms, bean sprouts. It adds up, and you start to get a big amount. For only 2 people, so usually, it's good for like 2 dinners and maybe a lunch. And sometimes I just don't like to eat the same food that many times. Sometimes I am in the mood for that. So again, I'm thinking of doing that in the near future and showing you that. Of course, I won't bore you with the, grilling up the chicken first ahead of time, or maybe I'll do a quick little thing and put the videos together. Haven't decided, but I'm enjoying doing the cooking series. I'm not a cook, never claimed to be. Like I said, I just want to give people the opportunity to have something other than, McDonald's, Taco Bell, and stuff. And like I said, from if I was going to say, oh, let's go get some fast food, by the time I get into my car, drive to the place, order it, pay for it, wait for it to come out, bring it back home to eat it, I could have had my meal cooked. Trout, yep, Carol, we have a lot of trout. And again, uh, Fresh Market makes the pecan encrusted already. But like I said, with that trout, which I said in my video, if you take the pecans, chop them up super fine, and just a little bit of panko, and you uh, just put some lemon on the fish, dredge it in there, even sometimes a little bit of egg white or egg, and then dredge it in that mixture. Same thing, but like I said, I like the fact that Fresh Market has already done that work for me. Yeah, can't beat that. and once a week, usually on Thursdays, they have it on sale, 2 pieces for $10, although off sale, it's $6.99 a piece, so for $14 for 2 people, that's a pretty good price. Not quite as inexpensive as my less expensive series, but, there's, inexpensive, medium, and then there's high price. Last night's steak, that was a little bit expensive, but like I said, we don't have steak very often, so once in a while you have to treat yourself. And that was the night I just like saw it was on sale. Still expensive because it was, uh, prime from the butcher, where they trim off all the fat for you. Got that at the farmer's market where they have the butchers right there. So I decided, let's treat ourselves, and that's what we had. And it's pretty big. We had steak for dinner, and then we finished it for lunch today because it was pretty big. It was like 9 ounces, 8, 9 ounces. So it had like 40, 50 grams protein in it. Can't beat that. Uh, Again, usually we go for the filet mignon because of the less fat. But that was like $45 a pound. I just didn't feel like getting that. I know there's places that do have it a little bit less expensive. Some just, um, there's some beef stores that have it a little bit less expensive. Like we have here Western Beef and Broward Beef Company, and just places like that have it a lot less expensive and very good quality. And they'll buy the whole filet mignon, they'll cut it up, trim it up for you. Uh, and we don't eat steak that often anymore to do that. So we just usually buy it by the piece. I know Fresh Market and they have it on sale a lot. Um, they didn't where I was yesterday. So we had strip steak. Again, it was absolutely delicious. Try not to have that more than like once a month, twice a month for beef. But steak itself, we don't have that often. So we treated ourselves, once in a while. You have to. Yeah. Again, new way of eating, new way of life. This is going to be a forever thing. So you have to, and not going to really say an exception because it was still a very healthy dinner, but you have to have beef once in a while. You don't have to, but we choose to have beef once in a while. Uh, you can't have fish every night. We do have a pork chop once in a while, chicken once in a while. So that covers pretty much what we eat. I just did a video, came out 2 days ago, what I eat in a day. And it's a little bit different now with me on maintenance. And I talk about the differences of when I was on the medication. Like now, since I'm trying to maintain and I'm not trying to lose weight on the medication, that's when I started adding the Greek yogurt to my protein shake to one, give it more calories, some more protein, and um, again, I add spinach or some kale to it to give it some more nutritional value. And if I have a carb, I try to have it at lunch, because my wife isn't quite on maintenance, and I don't want her to see me eating, like a bit of a wrap and her not having a wrap. Although she does have one once in a while, because, like I said, way of life, you have to have one once in a while, or you'll never stick to it. So, like, we just try to make it healthier. We found these new cauliflower wraps, not too bad, not quite as good as having it on a fresh baked roll or something like that. But it'll do. We liked it. We did our tuna melt, which just came out, I think, yesterday or the day before. We did half on a light English, whole wheat English muffin, and one on one of these cauliflower wraps. Like I said, it was pretty good. A little bit different. It'll do. It would probably be good with like some turkey salad or chicken salad or tuna salad. rolled up in it, different way to eat it, very healthy, so we tried that again. 'Cause I like to look for these little things in these specialty shops because they help us stick to things and make things a little bit different. And again, you can't be eating the same thing all the time. Your body gets used to it. You have to switch off, which is one reason why I wanted us to go to dinner because my wife was kind of at a stall. Uh, I'm not going to say that I was at a stall because I'm on maintenance. So, a stall is what I want. But, sometimes you don't realize that you're not getting enough calories and you have to change things up. And, even eating a little dessert, changing things up, your body's like, oh, yeah, here comes that good stuff. Now I can release some of that fat that I've been hanging on to. So, you got to change things up. And, some people call it a cheat day, just don't go overboard. We just did it with the one meal. It's not like we like cheated all day and had everything we wanted. It's not like we had a bad breakfast and then a bad lunch and then bad dinner and then dessert on top of it and then topped it off with some ice cream. We didn't do that. We're not going to do that. We'd probably get sick if we did that. But again, way of life, have to change the way we think. Um, that's the way it is. We have part two of our snacks coming, but with the sweet ones, they'll be out this week. There were a couple of them that were good. Again, these type of things, because they are processed, I try not to eat too much because it is processed. But like I said, sometimes you just get that craving for salt. And I'd rather have this than reach for those Doritos that are just empty calories with absolutely no nutrition value. And at least this has some protein and some have some fiber and not loaded with sugar. And then the same thing with the sweet things, yeah. I've probably, since I've been on maintenance, gotten a little worse. I used to only have like something sweet like that, maybe once a week. Now I'm having it 2 times a week. Uh, not just my fruit, um, because again, I'm trying to get a little bit more calories in, and these at least do have some protein, and they're very low in sugar. Matter of fact, somebody at work, my favorite are the uh, Quest or Atkins makes they're like a Reese's peanut butter cup, but they're not. I really like them, both brands. And somebody brought the real ones into work, and I took a bite of it, and I'm like, oh, that is disgustingly sweet. It was like I actually now prefer the other one, believe it or not. So our tastes have changed, our way of life has changed. I kind of like it. Like I said, I'm feeling so good about the way that I eat. I want to do more. That's why I'm exercising more. My wife is getting there a little bit slower because she's got arthritis, got COPD, but she's now getting into like maybe we'll take a little bit of a walk once in a while. We're planning on maybe going to the pool in a little bit, walk around in the pool because that shouldn't hurt her arthritis or her back. So that's probably what we're going to do in a little bit. So I'll be signing off in just a little bit so that we can make it to the pool. I'm going to stay before dark, but we just changed the clock, so we got to have an extra hour of daylight. So that's good. It kind of ticked me off at the gym, or at least at Hotworks, because like, they were closed to like 8:30 because of the time change. And I'm like, okay, this is a video-based class. Like, does it really matter? But yes, it did because they had all the rooms blocked until then. I guess people were coming and using some of the weight stuff, but so I got my workout in a little bit later today, and because it was a little bit later and I had the cool sculpting appointment, it wasn't quite as long as usual, but at least I got it in. And like I said, we're probably going to go to the pool in a few minutes and do some walking in the pool. For some reason, it's super hot today in Florida. It's been pretty cool, like 80, but today it's supposed to get up to like 89, possibly breaking records. So we shall see. hopefully the water, I mean, it is a heated pool, but they don't overly heat it, so hopefully that won't be a problem. Uh, we'll see. We'll get some exercise in. Said people are just feeling so good on this. You want to do more. Of course, I'm not carrying around the same 60 pounds that I was, carrying around a little over a year ago. So, of course, I feel better. My wife's lost 30 some pounds. She's not carrying that 30 pounds anymore. She's feeling better too. That's what it's all about. We want to feel better. We want to live the rest of our life feeling better. We want to lower our chances of heart problems, kidney problems. One little extra thing with this medication, they're doing studies because they're finding that people on the GLP-1 medications are not getting the flu as often or is getting common colds quite as often. So maybe there's going to be another use for it. I didn't hear anything about COVID on it, but that I did hear about the flu and colds and other types of viruses. So that might be another thing. More things that this gets approved for, harder it's going to be for insurance companies to deny it. So it's all good stuff for us. So that covers this live. Hopefully you've learned something. I know I have. Hopefully you'll like this, subscribe, share. Tend to have these lives on Sunday. People find a better day for them. I work a lot, so Sunday works pretty good for me because every place that I work tends to be closed. I kind of try to save this as my YouTube day. So let me know in the comments. Plenty of ways to reach me. And that's it for tonight. Have a good night.